What is going on, you guys? It's your girl Diana, back at you with another YouTube video. So I think at this point, literally everyone on the internet knows that the quickest way to take out these 7-star Decidueye raids is to use Miraidon. However, if you are anything like me and you are too lazy to get your own Miraidon, and you don't have one to use, I have another solution for you. So let's go ahead and check it out. So before we hop into how I was able to solo this raid just in the nick of time by turning this raid's best support Pokemon into the attacker, let's go ahead and go over what you're actually going to be going up against if you haven't yet joined these raids. So of course Decidueye is going to be level 100 and it is going to have a Flying Terra type. Moveset wise, it is going to be using Spirit Shackle, Brave Bird, Low Kick, and Leaf Blade as its main moveset. It does also have access to Sword Dance and Feather Dance, so it can raise its own stats and it can lower any attack stats. So it's probably best to bring a special attacker to these if you were trying to decide if you wanted to bring a physical attacker or a special attacker, since that way you won't be affected by the Feather Dance. But these aren't even the most annoying things about Decidueye. The annoying things that it does do is, number one, it literally is going to clear any stat boost turn 2. So if you try to set up turn 1, all of those stats are literally going to get cleared the very next turn. But the most annoying thing that I have found about this raid is that once Decidueye puts its shield up, which if you do not have a Miraidon, it is very likely that it will put its shield up, it starts double attacking you. So you're not getting hit once by this thing, you'll be getting hit twice, which means you're more likely to get crit, and since it has access to Sword Dance, it's gonna start hurting more. So just be prepared to be attacked multiple times in a row once this thing's shield goes up. Now in my previous video, we went over the support Belly Bolt, which is this one right here with Acid Spray, Reflect, Slack Off, and Chilling Water, which was a full HP and defense build. However, in order to solo this thing, I turned my singles Belly Bolt into a raid attacker, since I had already trained it in HP and special attack, which is what you're gonna want if you want to take this thing out, obviously. Since Belly Bolt is a special attacker, you want to give it all the oomph it can. You're also going to want to have the ability Electromorphosis. Me personally, I trained my Belly Bolt to be as slow as possible for use in singles battles because I wanted it to get hit first, for the sole reason that I wanted Electromorphosis to be activated as often as possible, since that is going to increase the power of your electric type attacks. And because Belly Bolt is already naturally bulky, if you max out its HP, it is very annoying and very hard to take it out. Most of the people that have gone up against my Belly Bolt in singles battles can attest to that. So I figured it would work perfectly for this. And was it perfect? No, but it did end up working. So what I did do to make my Belly Bolt a raid Pokemon versus a battle Pokemon is I just switched around its moveset a little bit. So I went ahead and threw Slack Off on there for obvious reasons. I wanted to leave Discharge on there solely because, like I said, Decidueye likes to put its shield up, and Discharge does have the ability to paralyze through the shield, which is probably going to come in handy more often than you think, especially with those double attacks, because if you can take on one less attack in this raid, that is going to be so helpful. You're also going to want Acid Spray on there to, of course, lower its special defense, and Acid Spray also goes through the shield as well, so if you're not doing quite enough damage once it gets its shield up, try to throw a couple more Acid Sprays on there since it will go through the shield. I did throw Charge on there as well because I thought I would be able to possibly set up Belly Bolt, but as you'll see in the next few clips, that doesn't really work out for me. But we were still able to beat this thing, even though Charge didn't work out. So let me go ahead and show you how my raid went. I also almost forgot to mention that I did throw an item on Belly Bolt. Previously, I had an Assault Vest on it when I was using it for battles, but I switched that out for a Citrus Berry just because it is going to help with that HP recovery, and also Assault Vest wouldn't let me use Slack Off. But you're going to want to start off with Acid Spray turn 1, just so that you can get the ball rolling on lowering its special defense. And like I said, it is going to clear your stats on the second turn, so there's no point in you setting up anything turn 1. So now we have Decidueye clearing the stats. I'm gonna go for my second Acid Spray. I went for 3 for this one just because I didn't want to take too long to try to avoid Decidueye setting up the shield before I could get enough damage in. But as you'll see in a second, it didn't really end up working in my favor. But here is my second Acid Spray right here. And now I'm going for my third Acid Spray. And you'll see that thanks to the Staraptor, which I got lucky with this group right here, the attacks are not doing as much damage because of Staraptor's Intimidate, which if you can get this NPC, just do that. Just reset until you get the Staraptor, because it does come in handy, especially if you obviously are trying to solo this. But here, as you can see, I tried to go for Charge and I ended up taking a lot more damage than I thought I would because I ended up getting a critical hit on me. Like I said, this thing crits a lot. So you can see my berry being used up, but I'm still at less than 50% health. So I'm in a pretty bad spot. And now that I've used charged, it sets me up for getting knocked out right after I tried to set up, which does end up happening. Not to mention, Decidueye did end up putting its shield up before I could even hit it with an actual attack like Discharge. And as you can see, Decidueye has now used Sword Dance, which means its attacks are gonna hit me harder now, so Intimidate will not be as useful. And there I go, I've been knocked out. So clearly, Charge was not the move there. But now I'm back at full health, which means it is safe for me to Terrastalize at this point and start going in for Discharge, just to try to get damage in now that unfortunately its shield is up. Once this thing's shield is up, the only real way that you're going to be doing damage is if you do Terrastalize. Lucky for you, if you do use Belly Bolt and you are using Acid Spray, that is going to count as actual attacks, so you will be able to Terrastalize after you get enough turns in. And as you can see, Leaf Blade hurts a lot because of the Sword Dance. But here is my first Discharge, and as you can see, it does a little bit of damage, but it's nothing too crazy. However, Decidueye is now paralyzed, so now I'm going to go ahead and go for a Slack Off just because I am getting low health, and I don't want to risk getting knocked out while I'm Terrastalized, because if I get knocked out while I'm Terrastalized and this thing's shield is still up, there's like no way I would be able to come back from that. So now that I've used Slack Off and I'm back at full health and the paralysis is coming in clutch, I'm gonna go ahead and go for another Discharge. So Discharge did nothing, and I did not like that, but we do love that it was paralyzed still. We don't love that it hit me twice in a row though, even though the first one didn't technically hit, but if I had gotten hit twice, then I would have been in more trouble than just getting hit once. So that's why I said Discharge comes in handy with the paralysis, since it does save me from taking 2 turns of damage. But because I saw that Discharge wasn't really doing anything, I went for another Acid Spray, just because I was like, I need a little bit more help in the special defense department. So I just went ahead and got one of those off. I'm waiting for my turn in agony because this thing is hitting me twice, but as you saw, it was paralyzed again. So it actually only hit me once. Going in for another Discharge here, and you'll see that this Discharge does a ton more damage. 1, because I got an Acid Spray off, and 2, because of how many hits I've now taken from Decidueye. So Decidueye is basically setting me up without me having to use Charge because of Electromorphosis. I got critted again, which was very worrisome for me, so at this point I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and go for another Slack Off, because there's no way that I'll be able to live another hit. But now that I've healed myself and I'm almost back at full health, and it was paralyzed once again, I'm only getting hit once by Low Kick. Does do a little bit of damage, but I should be able to live a couple more hits, so I'm gonna go straight for another Discharge so I can get that shield down. Because once that shield is down, it's gonna be so much easier to take this thing out. But look at that timer. That timer was worrying me. But there we go, we went ahead and knocked the shield out, so we're good on that end. So now I just had to basically just keep going at it with Discharges and hope that it doesn't crit me. Leaf Blade does do a little bit of damage, but like I said, Electromorphosis is helping me out each turn and is making Discharge hit harder every time. You'll see this Discharge brings it down to pretty low health, and I'm thinking in my head, if I can just get one more off, I should be good. So we get the other Discharge off, and it just barely hangs on. And at this point, I'm sweating because that timer is running out quick. And the longer that I'm in this raid, the more likely that I'm gonna get knocked out right at the tail end of this thing. So I went for one last Discharge, and I was able to just barely knock it out in the nick of time. So as you can see, you can absolutely solo this raid without having to use Miraidon. Is it fun? No. Does a lot of it come down to luck? Yes. Do I recommend it? Not really. So if you can get your hands on a Miraidon, just do that. But if you don't have any other options, Belly Bolt is an amazing option for this raid, just because it's naturally bulky and because its ability is super useful because it basically sets you up without you having to, even though I definitely tried, but clearly that did not work out in my favor. But that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful or at least entertaining, because you gotta see that come down to the wire. But if you did find it helpful or entertaining, I kindly suggest that you consider subscribing so that I can continue to make content for you guys. And if you are already subscribed and you would like another way to support the channel, feel free to check out the merch store. There is a link down below in the description that takes you to not only my merch store, but also all of my other socials so you can keep up with what I'm doing on a daily basis. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to those of you who have joined the channel as members. I appreciate you all so much. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.